All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name's Chase. Welcome back to the Sasbury AI podcast.
Sasbury AI Podcast. Today's guest, Jonathan Carrigan. Bridging the AI adoption gap.
Today, we're joined by Jonathan Carrigan and Steve Boey, and we'll be talking about bridging the AI adoption gap. So, Steve, take it away.
Thanks, Chase. So I'm the CTO of Sasbury, and we build Agentic AI solutions. And I'm really excited today because really there continues to be a big AI adoption gap. And I'm so glad that we are able to have Jonathan Carrigan here in our podcast today. Just a bit of context. Jonathan was part of the old timers way back when. and I'm always so grateful for him because he made my transition to being a full-time goalie at the Palmer Old Timers such a smooth process. So, but more importantly, he is one of the OGs when it comes to AI. He's been doing this. He's been educating about AI since 2018. But I'll let him introduce himself. So, Jonathan, take it away.
Great. My name is Jonathan Carrigan. I spent my entire career really embedded in digital transformation. It started with the internet. Then it was all about mobile and always on connectivity. Then it was all about data-driven organizations and becoming a data-driven leaders. And now it's all AI all the time. And so I'm doing a lot of corporate training as well as teaching. So I teach in marketing programs for a range of institutions, but a lot of my time now is working with organizations, both public and private, on AI literacy. And then once that foundational literacy is in place, working with them to then develop their AI transformation strategy.
So that is actually a perfect segue to our first topic, talking about the adoption gap when it comes to because AI really is moving faster than the workforce strategy. But I'll throw out a really sobering stat here in that back in June, KPMG released a study that says that Canada is ranked 44 out of 47 countries when it comes to AI training and literacy. So why are we such laggards? And how do we overcome this?
Canadian business community has traditionally been quite cautious when it comes to change and adopting new technologies. And there are a lot of legitimate concerns with AI around data security, around privacy, around just the trustworthiness of AI and is it accurate? Is it going to make stuff up? And the other thing that's contributing to it, I believe, is just the rate of change and that it is evolving and improving so quickly that unless you're embedded in the space and you're following the space and you're actively engaged in adopting and experimenting and using AI, you don't realize how quickly the capabilities of AI is improving. And so there's a lot of false, I'll call them myths, still floating around. So yeah, when ChatGPT first blasted onto the scene, it wasn't very smart. It did make a lot of mistakes. It outright made things up, the hallucination problem. It wasn't connected to the internet. And so it wasn't very smart. It made lots of mistakes. And a lot of that media and attention around those issues continue to live with us today, even though now in a very short period of time, it's gone from scoring in the bottom 10% on standardized exams like the bar exam to now being in the top 10%. It's gone from an error rate of around 40% to an error rate of around 5%, which is equivalent to the top performing humans within any domain. And within the next year or two, it's anticipated that the error rate will drop down to 1 or 2%, where it's even better than humans. And so I think that just general awareness of how quickly AI is evolving, how much more capable AI is today than it was just 12 months ago, is holding a lot of people back. The other challenge is just, again, going back to AI literacy and why it's so incredibly important is that this is more than just adopting a new technology. This is really a complete rethink about how we create and deliver value in whatever context we operate in. And so, right from the individual level, in terms of reimagining my role, given the opportunities that are available to integrate and start leveraging AI within that role, all the way up to the organizational scale and reimagining the not only the operation but the structure and what are the needs of the organization and how do people collaborate, and increasingly we're getting to not only people collaborating, but it's human AI and even AI collaborating with other AI.
Absolutely. And I think some of the realities on the ground that I've seen in many organizations are that you have one group where there is a small group within the organization that are advocates of AI, that feel there's a lot of value there, that then practice shadow AI because of a lack of clear corporate policy on how to use, when to use, and the guardrails around it, right? So then, without being explicit, they have allowed a lot of leakage to happen within the organization, and unsafe use. But then yet there's the other group which simply don't want to acknowledge it, right? And the challenge is when you don't acknowledge it and you hold on to fallacies like you talked about, some stories from 3 years ago, lawyers that are putting together arguments that they're made by AI that's not true. Well, that's 3 years ago. That's 2 years ago. It's changed so fast, and the pace of change is outstripping, I believe, a lot of organizational culture, a lot of organizational behavior on that trust, right? So how do they go, okay, you know what, that was 6 months ago, that was 1 year ago. How do they then go, this is the grounded reality that we are here today? And how do they then take the next step to say, we're going to go ahead with this, and this is how we do it?
I, like yourself, I'm immersed in this space and consuming as much information as I can as it's coming out. And I feel overwhelmed by the change. I feel like I can't keep up with the latest information. And so for the average person who is not obsessing about this every day, it feels almost impossible. And so as a result, you've got a range of people like you described, that are either not touching it at all because of the stories and the myths that they hear in the marketplace, or they are diving in, but they're doing so extremely cautiously. And even those that are fully embracing, they may be racing ahead without the necessary AI literacy in place. So they're not getting the best value out of the tools, and they may be missing some of the highest value use cases. And I'll often hear people, oh, yeah, I use it all the time. It helps me write emails. Well, to me, that's like having a Ferrari just so you can listen to the radio, right? You're not leveraging the full capability of what the tool is able to do. And I feel like it's not really an adoption gap. It truly is a leadership gap in first recognizing the significance of this change that is happening all around us, as well as the scope and scale of the work that needs to be done. This is not an IT project. This is not a technology project unto itself. There is so much work that needs to be done before you get to the technology component around just understanding what does it mean to start integrating advanced intelligence and automation into our operation? What does that mean for our culture, for the way that we engage our customers? What does it mean for our workflows and processes? And how do we prepare and empower people to not only be ready for that change, but to help us and to actually lead the way? Because every individual is an expert in their role, in their job. They are the best place to assess the context of that role and how that role fits into the overall operation, and to then identify where there's an opportunity to start uh, offloading AI tasks to AI, because AI is not replacing people. AI is taking over tasks. And now if the people don't adapt the way that they think about their role and the work that they're doing, and they continue to hold on to tasks where AI is very quickly getting better at doing than us, um, then they will be displaced. And instead, we need to elevate the overall literacy and start treating AI literacy the same as infrastructure. It's a necessary asset within the organization to help us navigate and to tap into the full scope of knowledge and experience that exists across our workforce to help guide the organization through that journey. But if they don't have the literacy, they're not going to be able to play that role. They're not going to adapt themselves, and they're not going to be able to help guide the organization. And so, again, I'm going to keep beating this drum, but going back to that foundation of literacy, it is so important. You can't just leapfrog to implementation. Otherwise, you're going to risk just kind of running aimlessly, chasing shiny objects. You're going to focus on the wrong things, and then you're not going to achieve the ROI that was the promise that motivated the effort and the investment in the first place. And you're going to be like, oh, this is all hype. I've been duped. And that's not the case. It's that the way it was implemented from a literacy to a strategic planning before you get into implementation, those first two stages of literacy and strategic planning are critical, but too many organizations are skipping those steps.
So let's get into specifics. So going beyond the Copilot kind of scenario of being an AI being an assistant, there is a really important need for people to reskill for this agentic AI world, right? And so I'll throw in a really important stat here in that there was a TD Bank report that came out in August. 64% of Canadians did not feel that their employers are adequately providing them guidance and learnings when it comes to AI itself, right? So if that's the case, how do they skill? How do they properly skill in a way that will be effective, that will eventually provide that ROI to organizations? Because even if you look back 6 months ago, the tooling that came with OpenAI, with Microsoft Copilot, with Gemini, whatever flavor you use, it has changed. The tooling has changed, right? And how you use it, how you leverage it, really depends on your level of knowledge on how those tools work. So what is your advice to these people on reskilling or skilling up?
Yeah. First of all, it's important to recognize that we're entering, if not have already entered, an agentic era where humans don't just use AI, they're actually going to be leading AI. And so this isn't a technical shift. This is a managerial, a creative, a strategic shift. It's about, well, in essence, we're all about to shift from being doers to directing AI who will be doing the doing, right? And so what we need to start um, preparing is number one, and again, here's that drum, that AI literacy becomes really important. But once that foundation is in place, it's about getting people accustomed to managing and leading AI and providing direction. And that includes at the junior roles. And that's one of the biggest shift is those entry level jobs where students are coming out of school and they're going into those entry level jobs. It's through those early positions that they would be gaining that critical thinking, understanding of the business, problem solving skills, and so on, that enable them to then take the next step into either a team lead, a junior manager, and so on, where they start to learn how to give direction, how to effectively um, uh, do oversight in terms of their teams, provide feedback and guidance and coaching, as well as a real clear sense of accountability and their responsibility as manager. And the reality is that every single role, that's the transition that we are now having to make. AI is going to be more and more integrated into every single role. And what we need to start doing is start thinking about, and we need to provide people guidance around how do I redefine my role so that I'm focusing in on the areas of strength where the human plays a critical role, and what can I safely and responsibly offload to AI? And then as I offload those tasks to AI, what does that mean? How does that change the workflow? How does that change the way I work? How does that change the way my function interacts with other functions within the organization and so on? And I like to frame this not in technical terms. Yes, they do have to have literacy in terms of what is AI capable of, what is it not, how do you engage and collaborate with AI effectively, those foundational prompting skills and so on. That's essential. But then it's how do you elevate their overall kind of managerial skills to be able to give direction, review work, provide feedback, and understand their accountability? Because the way I frame it is that AI is very quickly becoming the subject matter expert across every domain. Going to be PhD level knowledgeable and beyond, no matter what topic. But AI doesn't know about the conversation that just happened in the hallway. AI doesn't know what my boss's priorities are. AI doesn't know what my customer concerns are. AI doesn't know what constraints we're operating under, whether it's financial constraints, time constraints, capability constraints, whatever it may be. And so we have to bring all of that context to the AI. So while AI is quickly becoming the subject matter expert, the human being is the contextual expert, and we play a critical role. We bring the intent. What are we trying to do? Why are we trying to do that? We bring the context around that. How will the outputs be used? What are the constraints and so on? And then we provide the oversight. We review the work. We identify, we give feedback and direction and coaching to the AI. And then ultimately, we decide when it's done, when it is good enough, and we are accountable for that output. AI is never going to be accountable for the output. AI is never going to be held responsible when something goes wrong. It's going to be a human being. And so that's the domain of the human. And so within the context of every single role, and then elevating up to teams and departments and then systems and processes and so on, we need to start to delineate where what's appropriate for AI, what's appropriate to humans, and what does that relationship and interaction look like in practice. And so I use a framework to help people kind of get unstuck from being overwhelmed from the fear of technology, right? And say, no, 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 this is no different than what you've always done in business. Imagine your boss has given you permission and budget to hire 3 new people. Look at your role. You're now going to offload some of what's on your plate to these 3 new positions. Define each position the same way you would working with HR. What tasks are they going to be doing? What skills are they going to need to have? What personal characteristics do you want them to have as they're performing that role? And play it all out. Where will it fit within the workflow? Who else will they be engaging with, and so on? And do that for each of the roles. Once that's done, well, your job has changed because you've now offloaded a bunch of things, and now you're responsible for managing these 3 new roles. So now redefine your role. And what they've done now is they've actually defined the role of AI, that how they're going to adopt it, because each of those is an agent or a custom GPT, depending on where you're going. And then your redefined job description is your redefined role within the context of full AI adoption.
Yeah, that is such a great approach, and that's such a great framework to drive that skilling and adoption gap. And to move from really zero to where they need to be, right? Let's move on to talking about the concerns a lot of people have when it comes to trust of AI. So the trust deficit, because AI is extremely powerful as it stands today. So how do we balance that with a human-centered strategy? You spoke a bit about making sure the human is in the loop and in the right place in the loop. And it's not an application of responsibility, but to make sure we understand where that human needs to be. So let's throw out another stats here. A study that the KPMG study I talked about, 34% of Canadians, only 34% of Canadians say they're willing to trust AI. But I wonder how much of that is a lack of understanding of why it is, and B, a lack of proper usage of the tools itself. You talk about context. Really, context is king. It's not data, but it's context. If you don't provide the right context, you're not going to get the output you want. But AI is built to kind of try and answer it anyways, right? The same way if you dealt with a junior colleague of yours. If you don't give enough context for the work they need to complete, it's not going to be up to your expectations, right? So, Jonathan, talk to us about that.
Great. It's funny because I'll often come across people that will have these myths, right? Oh, I tried it. I wasn't very impressed with the outputs. There's a lack of understanding, as you just described, of how much influence the human plays in directing the AI that will have a direct effect on the output that AI generates. And so there's this assumption that AI just does stuff, and not realizing the critical role that humans play, as we were just talking about. And so when I hear people say, yeah, I wasn't very impressed, I'll give you another analogy. It's like, for me, it's like somebody who doesn't play guitar, picking it up, strumming the strings a bit and saying, I don't get the hype. I tried it out. It didn't really make good music for me. And it's because they don't know how to actually wield the tool. Another analogy I use is a paintbrush. I can give a paintbrush to anyone. It's ubiquitous, right? And that's how AI is going to be. It's going to be integrated into every tool. It's super accessible. Very low barrier. Anyone, if you can communicate, either talk or type, you can use AI. Same with a paintbrush. Any one of us can paint something, but not all of us can create great art with that exact same tool. And so that's the number one barrier to overcome, is that people need to recognize the role of the human in the loop is critical. It plays a fundamental role in the direction and the quality of the output that AI produces. AI doesn't do anything alone, even when we give it the agentic authority to make decisions and take actions. We set the direction, we set the purpose, we set the guardrails and the steps and so on and so forth. It's all coming from a human being. The other thing is that there is this notion that I'm going to back up. Sorry, capture my thoughts. The literacy comes into play. The role of the human comes into play in the assumptions. The lack of trust, though, is number one, that first myth that AI just does it on its own. And so we need to overcome that. The second one is the other extreme where, we know that people are involved, but to your point, they are abdicating their responsibility to AI. And the more that is true, and we have all seen examples where we know that they basically said, here's the task, give me the output, copy, paste, send. It's not going to be good quality. Sometimes there's glaring errors where it's obvious, okay, you did not look at this at all. I've even seen mistakes where people will copy and paste that tail end of the communication from AI. If this isn't what you are looking for, let me know and I can add blah, blah, blah. It's like you included that in the email. Right? Very embarrassing. And those kinds of experiences contribute to a lack of trust. I think the media stories as well about the errors that AI will make leave an impression that AI is error prone, not recognizing that the capabilities of AI has gotten to a point where it's actually performing better than most human beings. And it's at par with now top performing humans. And within the next 12 to 24 months, it's going to be performing better than all humans, even if it's not 100%. It's not a calculator. It's not perfect. So we're still going to have to have some kind of human oversight. And so we can't fully just trust it without any human oversight at all. But just like a junior employee, when they first come in, they have zero agency. You need to follow my direction. You need to show me all of your work. Everything needs to be approved, and you don't have authority to make any decisions. But as I start to monitor and train and coach, and the employee proves their capability, even though I know that they will still make mistakes, I now give them a certain level of agency. I give them certain level of decision-making authority around, okay, now for these kinds of situations, you have the authority to make these kinds of decisions. And it's the same thing with AI, that we can train and coach and monitor and then determine when the AI is ready for that next step of decision making, where we can let go a little bit more and allow the AI to have a little more agency. And a part of that also is around understanding the nature of the decision, the nature of the task, how straightforward and simple is the task versus how much reasoning and problem solving and assessing is going to be involved in performing that task. What's the level of risk associated with the decision or the task that's being done? And all of that is going to feed into the decision around what role the human plays in the loop, how much agency we give to AI to have the freedom to act independently, what actions will we allow it to take, what decisions will we allow it to take before there's some form of human oversight and so on. And all of that is the strategic planning that is so critical before you race ahead into implementation. But you can't do any of that until you have foundational literacy in place to inform that decision making and that assessment and that planning.
So Chase here, he's in his final year of school, and when he first started, um, I think that would have been back in GPT-2, right, or even earlier. So there was no concept of what AI will become. Gen AI will become right now. So in his last year, I would say, of working with us, we've given him a lot of autonomy to explore the different tools. We've managed to make sure that he worked with high quality tools, and to learn as his skills with AI evolved, right? And now his output compared to what it was even 3 months ago is dramatically bigger, greater. But we're talking about a cohort of people coming out of school who did not have any kind of foundational tooling or education at all when it comes to AI, right? So now they're walking out of university or college and into this new world where the expectation is that, oh, you're young, you must know AI. so, speak to that.
Okay.
What is your advice to this cohort?
This is a big topic, and it's one that I feel very passionately about, and it's one that I'm very active in right now. So I'm an educator. I work with a number of different organizations. I develop programs, I develop courses, I teach these courses, but more fundamentally is I am an active AI literacy trainer for faculty who are making this transition. And number one, what I see is the vast majority of teachers are still very hesitant to adopt AI themselves, and even more hesitant to start embracing AI as something that they need to be teaching their students and integrating it within the curriculum to prepare students for the AI integrated world that they're going to be graduating into. So it starts there with the educators and the way that we deliver. And the challenge that we have is that the model that we currently use to train people for the workplace is antiquated. It's over 100 years old. It is training people for a work environment that is no longer exists. The other challenge is that it's a one size fits all. And what AI enables us to do is actually personalize the learning experience at scale in a way that has never been possible to this point. And so it's up to educators and institutions to completely rethink, just the same way as we were talking about in the corporate environment, and companies having to rethink the way that they create and deliver value. Educational institutions have to do the same. Teachers have to do the same around reassessing their role, reassessing what they're teaching, how they're teaching it, reassessing the skills that students are going to need, and then rebuilding that curriculum and rethinking the delivery model. It's not that we're replacing humans, but it's also not that we're fighting AI. It's somewhere in between. It's around finding that nice sweet spot of bringing in the value of the human to play the role of the coach, to focus on working with human to humans around relationships, problem solving, collaboration, critical thinking, strategic thinking. But AI is really good at summarizing data, translating information to people at an individual level, being available for support 24/7. And so by embracing the AI and really thinking honestly about the work environment that students are going to be graduating into, we need to completely reimagine what we teach and how we teach it. And it starts by embracing AI, elevating those AI literacy skills so that then the teachers and the curriculum designers and the institutional leaders are are ready and able to kind of envision what that future state looks like, to assess what the current state actually is, and then start to chart that transformation path, that roadmap of what do we need to do to get this transformation moving. And the reality is we have to go fast. It needs to happen now. We are not preparing students for the world that they're graduating into. And we're already seeing hiring practices change. Those junior jobs are disappearing, but there are still people in those roles, but the people in those roles are increasingly being expected to have high AI literacy because there's going to be fewer of them within those roles because they're going to be augmented by AI. And then even the higher level roles where we're actually seeing growth, there's new positions being created, and through the increased capacity that AI brings not only to individuals, but the organization as a whole, we're going to start seeing really rapid business growth, and there will be increased hiring. But whether it is a junior role, a middle role, or even a senior executive role, every role is going to be augmented by AI. And we need to have those skills. We need to know what that means. And that's where it starts in the education process to ensure that we are preparing people to step into those roles. And those that make that move now are going to be in very high demand. They already are.
Yes. And on that note, I believe we'll wrap this up. And Jonathan, this has exceeded my expectations. We really managed to deep dive into a lot of things that are very current in what people are thinking about, and a lot of concerns that a lot of business leaders are having. Right. So, and also for a lot of people who are going into your regular workforce, what role do they play, how they skill up, and I'm glad you managed to address all those things. So thank you again for coming to and joining our podcast, and I hope you have a great week, and happy Halloween.
Thank you. This has been fun. I really love these conversations. And if anyone wants to learn more, connect with me, look for me on LinkedIn. And watch for next May, late spring, May 2026. I'll be doing a TED Talk, TEDx Oshawa. And I'll be speaking a little more about my thoughts on education and new educational model.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.
I was going to say, yeah, that was great. I'm excited to edit this because there's a lot of good clips I can clip. And maybe I should send a couple of the clips to my professors too. I feel like that would be...
Yeah, it's a battle that I have every day, and I've had some really heated discussions with some people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you said you worked for the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment?
I did, yeah.
So my last question is, are you a Maple Leafs fan then?
Ha, interesting. I am now. I am. I grew up a Habs fan because I grew up just outside of Montreal. Yeah. But then I lived in Vancouver for quite a long time, from 95 to 2013. And so you can't help but love the Canucks. And so for the longest time, the Habs were my East team and the Canucks were my West team. And if they were meeting each other, it's like, hey, there's no losing for me. But
there you go.
When you spend time actually being a part of an organization, you feel invested and you feel like, it's now a part of me. And so I've had the opportunity to be a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, as well as the Raptors and all the other properties that are part of the Maple Leafs portfolio. And I feel connected to it, and I probably always will.
Yeah. And on that note, go Blue Jays.
Yeah, go Blue
Yeah,
Jays.
super exciting, eh? What a game. I got to watch the tail end of that game. We were in the dressing room. I got out of hockey and we had a bunch of little screens on our phones watching the game, and that amazing hit where the score went from 3-1 to 4-3, and it was tense. It was a lot.
What a fairy tale
was, yeah.
ending, eh?
Well, that's it. They were in last place, and then the champions.
Reminds me of that Joe Carter home run, doesn't it? Yeah. All right.
Salisbury AI Podcast. Today's guest, Jonathan Carrigan,